On this week's show, Liberty Athletics enters a new era. We'll hear from Flames head coaches about making the move to Conference USA.
Plus, a former Liberty football player followed a call and has gone on to help countless people find hope in Ukraine. That's all straight ahead. This is Flames Central.
Welcome into a special Flames Central alongside Emily Austin. I'm Matt Warner. And if you're a Liberty Flames fan, and if you're watching us, the chances are good that you are, get used to seeing this logo. As of July 1st, the Flames are officially members of Conference USA.
Yeah, after 5 years in the ASUN Conference, Liberty is moving on up. New opponents, new challenges, and the Flames are ready to take them all on.
Yeah, they sure are. But if you're like many, you may be asking, who else is in Conference USA? I mean, it's hard to keep up with any conference these days with so much movement happening. So let's give you a quick look at the schools that are now conference foes for the Flames. Conference USA, more than just a name, it's a reality when it comes to the geographical footprint of this conference. It stretches from New Mexico State in the west to FIU in the east, in between UTEP, Sam Houston State, Louisiana Tech, Middle Tennessee, and Western Kentucky. And then there's a couple familiar logos for LU fans. Former ASUN members Jacksonville State and Kennesaw State both making the move, although the Owls won't be joining until 2024.
So, Matt, what does this move mean for Liberty? Well, the most obvious answer is that the Flames now have a conference home for their football team. Instead of playing as an independent, Liberty will now be able to compete for a conference title. We spoke with head coach Jamie Chadwell and other coaches to get their thoughts on making this historic move.
Now that we're in Conference USA, which is a well-respected conference, won a lot of bowl games, and gives us a chance to compete for a conference championship. And that's what people want to do, and ultimately gives us a chance to have a path to the CFP, which is what young people want to do these days, get a chance to play for a national championship. And Conference USA allows that with their great tradition and great teams that we have in the conference.
It's exciting to be making the move to Conference USA because it really is moving to a conference where we get closer to that ultimate, goal. In our sport, just trying to train women to be strong, godly women, right? And to be able to do that at the highest platform that sports can take you is exciting, because then you have the more viewership, the more people you can reach for the Lord.
Elated when we got the invite. Obviously, I think our leadership in our athletic department is as good as any in the country. In their intentionality to pursue a conference home for us that could allow us to compete nationally came to fruition. And obviously we, the coaches and our student athletes, are the benefactors, but also have a great admiration for Judy McLeod, who's a conference commissioner of Conference USA, and her staff. I just think it's a home run for us. And we are, needless to say, excited about the opportunity and certainly know of the challenges it presents.
We're really excited about joining Conference USA, and that's a milestone the university's been striving for many years, to join an FBS conference, and we're excited that it's come to fruition. Conference USA is going to be a step up competitively for us, and so there are a number of sports where there will be a multi-bid conference where multiple teams, not just the automatic qualifier who wins the championship, but other teams get at-large bids for NCAA access. So we're excited about that opportunity for our teams as well.
Exciting times ahead, but before we completely close the book on the ASUN era, we should recognize the success Liberty experienced this past year. The Flames finished 98th in the nation in the Learfield Directors' Cup standings, which measures the most successful athletic departments in the nation. It's the third straight top 100 finish for LU. The Flames won 12 conference titles across 20 sports. And then there's notable wins like football beating BYU and Arkansas, and men's basketball taking down Villanova. All in all, just the latest in a series of successful seasons for Liberty Athletics.
Yeah, so much success on the field for the Flames. But more important than wins is the mission. Liberty's motto of training champions for Christ is something that's taken very seriously. And for former Liberty football player Mick Stockwell, it was life-changing. It was while he was here at LU that Mick felt a call to the mission field and a call to serve the people of Russia and Ukraine.
When I was a young child growing up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, I understood that there was another part of the world that was atheistic, communistic, where people couldn't have their own Bibles, they couldn't share their faith. People were sent off to prison. We were supposed to hate the Russians, hate the Soviets. There was something about them, and I just felt drawn to them, and I prayed for them.
Mick Stockwell didn't know it then, but God was preparing him for a journey that would begin with a paintbrush and a football scholarship to Liberty Baptist College.
There was a new line coach there. His name was Coach Kaltenbach, and there was a little barn-looking building out by the field. And I walked in there and I said, "What are you doing?" And told him who I was. And he said, "Well, I'll be your coach." And he says, "Grab a brush." So I started off by painting the lockers that we would use that year.
It was 1976, and the budding Liberty football program was preparing to start its 4th season. Mick was one of 80 new players that would complete the 120-man roster that year. In the beginning, accommodations and equipment were limited. Players would practice on the grounds of a youth camp called Treasure Island.
We went out to the island, saw the facilities that Liberty did not have. It was really sad. We came through the hard times in the beginning at Liberty Baptist College.
The football program and the college continued to grow. And at the same time, God's plan for Mick was slowly starting to be revealed.
On February 10th, 1977, in chapel at the Old Thomas Road Baptist Church, I went forward and I gave my life to missions. I didn't know what that would look like. I didn't know where I would go.
After graduating from Liberty, Mick would marry his college sweetheart, Delise, and together they would raise 3 boys. It was around that time that Mick noticed something slowly starting to change on the other side of the world.
Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate.
We watched everything unfold in the former Soviet Union.
Tear down this wall.
We watched Glasnost and Perestroika and the Berlin Wall come down.
No one had expected that something like this was about to happen.
And then a phone call from a lifelong friend would expedite God's plan for Mick.
Hey Mick, we're going on a mission trip to Russia, and we're going to Moldova, and we're going to Romania. And I was just thinking, hey, maybe you'd like to go. Ukraine was broken, rusted, bankrupt, falling apart. The infrastructure was devastated just from the fall of the Soviet Union. We were walking down the street one day. We'd been passing out tracts, and people were just hungry for anything from the West, anything about the Lord, anything about the gospel. And I said, hey, couldn't you come live here? Wouldn't you want to do this? Isn't this exciting? And these 2 older men looked at me like, you must have lost your mind. And they immediately said, no. And then one of them looked at me straight in the eye and he said, but you could. With my wife and our 3 boys at that time, they were 11, 9, and 6. We moved to Kiev, Ukraine. It was difficult. There were things there that we weren't ready for. They talk about culture shock. They talk about enduring. There were times when I came home from the struggle and literally laid on my bed, and I would begin to weep. And I just remember the Holy Spirit coming to me and saying, Mick, it will be all right. I've called you. You are mine, and you will accomplish what I've called you to do. So we went out into towns, villages, small cities that didn't have any church at all, and people just rushing up who had literally never heard the gospel or never held a Bible in their hand. So we passed out Bibles, we passed out children's books, and we helped to go in and do evangelism. We'd come alongside a Ukrainian leader as a church planter and help them plant that church.
But in February of 2022, when Russian tanks started rolling into Ukraine, Mick was obviously concerned. But mostly, he was shocked.
None of us believed that there could be a war between Russia and Ukraine because they're basically the same people. They've been together politically for over 500 years, and they're all intermarried. Everyone speaks Russian. It's their heart language. It's who they are.
Mick's first concern was for the people of Ukraine. And then he started to think about his own family, the memories of raising his boys in a place that has now been decimated by war.
It's really real for us. At this point right now, we're not able to actively send out new missionary families, and there's no economy there to support their missionaries.
Mick and Delise are now living in the Czech Republic, currently helping to relocate millions of Ukrainian refugees around the world.
I don't think we're responsible for the outcomes. You know, for all the people who may have come to Christ, for the churches that were planted, or the people that we invested in. The one thing that will matter is that we've been faithful, that we were obedient, and that we trusted the Lord with the results, but we gave it everything that we had. I'm always grateful for the people who sacrificed, believed in the vision, believed in the goal, believed in us. Helped send me as a student here to Liberty, and then for those who helped send us to be missionaries and who are now empowering my national partners to go all over the world as missionaries.
Thanks to our John Pratt for producing that piece. You heard Mick talk about how tough it was on the mission field. I have to think in some ways, playing football here at Liberty back in those early days maybe helped prepare him for that. It was tough. It was not easy. They're starting from scratch, and yet he persevered, and he's done that as well on the mission field.
Playing with your high school gear can't be easy, but you know, you look back where he found that passion to have such a serving heart and work with people in Ukraine and Russia, and that's still being seen today, what he's doing, the work in, with the Ukraine refugees and just planting those seeds, and just the impact is incredible.
A faithful servant for sure. All right, hey, we turn to Liberty baseball now. The Flames announcing an important addition to their staff. LU has hired Tyler Robinson to serve as the team's pitching coach. Robinson comes to Lynchburg from Campbell University, where he held the same position for the Camels since 2019. In 3 of his 4 seasons leading the Campbell pitching staff, they led the Big South in ERA, strikeouts, and opponent batting average. The Camels also became a consistent NCAA tournament team during Robinson's tenure.
Great to have Coach Robinson here on the mountain. In recent weeks, we told you about Liberty golfer Isaac Simmons and his incredible opportunity to play in the U.S. Open. Well, on this week's Flame Central podcast, powered by Alcova Mortgage, we got to ask the man himself about the experience and about rubbing elbows with some of the best players in the game. What was your favorite part about the entire experience?
Leading up to the tournament, I was hoping to I didn't know who I was going to be playing with out there. So it was just really cool to play with actually some of the guys like I maybe had hoped to. Like play with Justin Rose, John Rahm, Sergio. Like I was kind of nervous. Like
I bet. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding?
I think that's kind of a given.
The first 2 holes I played really well. Then I started to realize like, wait, there's like 1,000 people here.
Well, yeah, I bet that's too because you're not with just some bums and nobody wants to follow you. Everyone's following these guys.
He pointed at Joe and he said that.
That was just a casual hand motion. That wasn't at you.
That's very true.
But if you played with a nobody, you're not going to have a bunch of people following you.
So I was kind of like a little hitting it, like hit a few bad shots on like 3, 4, 5. And John said to me, John actually hit a few bad shots too. And he was like, dude, it's Monday. Like no one cares. Like, dude, don't care what these people think. Like no one here cares. Like it doesn't matter. It's Monday. Like who cares? So then I actually, like after he said that, I hit it better in the next couple holes.
Hey, Matt, remember when we were playing that one time and John Rahm said to us?
I forget what he said.
Whatever. You're going to want to hear our entire interview with Isaac, so check out the Flame Central podcast powered by Alcova Mortgage. If you haven't been listening, frankly, I feel really sorry for you, but your life is about to get much better. Find the podcast in your usual podcast places, Spotify, Apple, or watch it each week on the Liberty Flames YouTube channel. All right, we have to take a break, but coming up, one of the highest draft picks in Liberty baseball history. See how Renard Brown is helping the next generation of players.
Plus, see how Liberty football celebrated the 4th of July. That's all when Flames Central returns.
Welcome to Liberty University's online programs, where living out your calling with integrity is what you train to do. And getting ready for the future doesn't mean missing out on the now. Because a university is more than buildings and books. And an education should set you free, not fence you in. Welcome to Liberty's global campus, where distance learning was pioneered and evolved into one of the top-ranked schools in the nation. Where protecting your budget, your time, and your education isn't just a theory, it's our priority. Here, degrees in your field reflect industry demands and help you get ahead of the competition. Where college comes to you, but you can come to college too. Game day, homecoming, graduation day. Your school, your values, your experience, your choice. Welcome to Liberty University, where we train champions for Christ.
You know, as throughout my public career, we've had a bias toward hiring Liberty University graduates because for me, I believe in character hiring. We look for men and women of integrity who can come into our organization, whether it's our time at the White House or when I was governor or when I was in the Congress. And I truly do believe that one of the great things about Liberty University is it's training leaders, whether they will go and serve in government, whether they will go and serve in our military, whether they'll lead in business or in education or any whole range of professional occupations. For me, having men and women of integrity in public life is a hope of the nation. And when men and women of integrity rise into leaders of position, God blesses America. And my hope is that we'll see this rising generation here at Liberty University answer the call to serve.
At Liberty University, we don't just believe everyone should have access to higher education, we make it happen. That's why we are offering our Middle America Scholarship to help families like yours by providing over $20,000 over the course of 4 years. Money should not hold you back from the life-changing experience at Liberty University. Find out if you qualify for the Middle America Scholarship today.
Where you train is where you learn how to say, I know this. I've done this. I've got this. I'm ready. So you can surpass expectations when they say you're hired. At Liberty University, you'll train in world-class facilities as you prepare for a world-class career.
Hey, welcome back to the show. Renard Brown is a former Flames outfielder who had plenty of success playing the game of baseball. But after hanging up his jersey, he realized that he could use the experiences of his past to help others find a more hopeful future.
When I was born, I lived with my biological parents at the time, and they had a problem with drugs. Okay, so when I was born, I basically came into the world addicted to narcotics.
Renard Brown was a standout baseball player for Liberty University in the early 1980s. The .376 career hitter would go on to be selected in the 1982 MLB draft in the 3rd round by Seattle, where he would play his way to the AAA level. But when his baseball career was drawing to a close, it was the experiences of his past that influenced his next step.
As I grew up and became older, I always wanted to be able to make a difference because, drugs and everything, it's always been here. That's one of the things that kind of pushed me to law enforcement. I knew eventually I was going to get into narcotics and do that type of work.
He would join the Texas Department of Safety, eventually serving as a narcotics officer. But he realized that he was dealing with people late in the process. People who were nearing the end of a long road paved with bad decisions.
Sometimes you deal with people and they're on their last leg. They're suicidal, or the world's just not working for them. Things are just not happening for them, and it's just so hard when you get into that kind of job. You don't really get to help people like I really thought. It's more of a punitive kind of thing.
So after a 25-year career in law enforcement, Renard would redirect his efforts toward prevention by teaching criminal justice in high school.
Who handles the responsibility part? You guys. You guys handle the responsibility part.
And he would also get to coach the sport he loves.
Watch that glove the whole way. Don't worry about your batter. He'll get out of the way if he has to.
The goal is to reach kids as a mentor now, helping them avoid the pitfalls that lay ahead.
You definitely have to try to reach these kids before they get to the point of no return. And that's really important, because there's so many kids that, especially, they get strung out on drugs nowadays, and not only drugs, they get involved in stuff that they can't get themselves out of. If you can reach them, let's say they reach them in 9th grade or reach them in 8th grade or through sports, that's a good way to try to reel them in and say, hey, look, this is the way things need to be done. And they say, well, how do you know, Coach? Well, because I've been there, done that.
And much of what he tries to instill in his students can be traced back to what he learned during his time at Liberty.
You really need to set yourself on some kind of solid foundation. And the best foundation, obviously, is Jesus Christ. I mean, if you get saved and Jesus is in your life, there's nothing better that you can have, because he's going to help you through the peaks and the valleys. He's going to be there for you. He's going to be your strength. He's going to be the person that you can lean on. Guys, take pride in the way you dress. Clean your uniform. If you got dirt on it, clean it. When I see these kids, I see myself. And when I see this school, I see the school that I was at. Kids are struggling. They don't know what they want to do with their lives. They got all these problems that come up every day. And then they're trying to decide, what do I do? And they don't know the answer. Obviously, the answer is Jesus Christ. That's the answer. They don't know that. But a lot of times, they can see Jesus in you. And so that's what I try to do with these kids. I try to walk around and be a walking example of what Jesus would do. Because you know what? We're humans. We're all going to make mistakes.
The job may not be easy, but every once in a while, Renard gets a call that makes it all worthwhile.
I had this kid that was a real troubled kid, and he just never would listen to me. And I said, you know what? I said, there's more important things to life than sports. I said, hopefully one day you'll kind of grow up and you'll kind of see that. I got a call from him about 6 months ago. He says, Coach, everything you told me was true. Everything you told me about life is true. I just want to apologize to you. And I almost got a tear in my eye, because, that's what it's all about. All right, here we go. I do it because I think I'm supposed to be here. God put me here. And every day something comes up or somebody comes up, and I realize I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Good stuff today. Good stuff.
Still to come, I'm guessing how you celebrated the 4th of July was a little bit different than how Liberty football celebrated. We'll show you what we mean when Flame Central returns.
At the fence, leaping, Wow! To the 5, pylon, he's in.
Does education mean a room with 4 walls, a desk, and a PowerPoint lecture?
Or is it something bigger?
What if it's the people beside you, 1 chair away or 1 ocean away?
What if it's the chance to learn from your mistakes, as well as your victories?
And the push to keep going either way? What if it's the freedom to reach for bigger things without missing the little ones in between?
For each of us, education looks a bit different.
Because we're each a bit different.
But at Liberty, we think education might just mean something big enough for all of us. That's Liberty to us.
What will Liberty be to you?
Welcome back to Flames Central. Liberty football has an entirely new coaching staff this season, and one thing we've noticed about this group is that they know how to have some fun.
Yeah, no one has more fun than these guys, as evidenced by their 4th of July themed workout. Chances are you've never worked out like this. Take a look.
Happy birthday, America! America!
That is exactly how I spent my 4th. If you want to see these crazy dudes in action, the plan is simple. Go to lufootball.com, get your tickets today. Season opener against Bowling Green on September 2nd. It'll be here before you know it. Go ahead and get those tickets. How much fun do those guys have?
I want those glasses.
They were well dressed.
Red,
then there was just Spider-Man out of nowhere. Where did he? Where
you
is he?
never
Is
know.
that an American hero? Maybe. All right. Hey, we're about out of time. As always, any stories you might have missed, libertyflamescentral.com. Go ahead and check it out.
And just because it's the summer doesn't mean that we're taking off from the Flame Central podcast powered by Alcova Mortgage. So be sure you download and subscribe to that today. Thanks so much for watching. For Matt, I'm Emily. We'll see you right back here next week.